Kothan Matt and I grew up together, but we spent a lifetime resenting each other. She blamed me for forcing her memories back, blaming me because her true love took a tragic fall over it, and I resented her for breaking that promise to love me forever. Yet after losing her memory, she easily fell for someone else. 10 years of marriage, freezing cold. We were just the most familiar strangers around. But then I was diagnosed with the completely incurable condition. When everyone told her to leave, Than Mat actually carried me on her back, bowing every single step across 3,000 streets. She knelt before the Buddha for a whole day and night, just begging for me to pull through. Right at the very end, that woman stayed by my bed in a daze all night, pressing her forehead to my cheek. She whispered that she had fulfilled every duty to me in this life. Next time, she just hoped I wouldn't force her memories back, asking me to let her and him be happy. Tears slipped down my face as I finally understood. I never should have used our youthful love to chain her down and completely drag out her life. Heaven must have taken pity on me. Opening my eyes, I am right back on the day I found Kothan Mat. This time, I choose to let her memory stay buried, so my childhood love can run straight to her. True happiness. Having lost her memory, Miss Ko absolutely refuses to come home with us. We did manage to contact the absolute best neurologist around, so we could help her recover those lost memories pretty quickly if we really wanted to. This exact same conversation played out in my past life, when I found the missing Than Mat. Not a single detail out of place. Only this time, I don't feel that wild joy or urgency anymore. I just shake my head and turn it down, deciding to do two completely different things instead. First, I head to the hospital for an incredibly detailed, head-to-toe checkup. Second, carrying my official diagnosis for a severe muscle-wasting condition. I go straight to the Ko family elders to propose, calling off the engagement entirely. Her mother grabs my hand and shakes her head, eyes completely red, insisting this marriage simply cannot be cancelled. She says that Matt likes me way too much. She would never even consider marrying anyone else but me. But pay close attention here. I just stay quiet and show them a photo. In it, Kothan Mat is staring at a man in an aquarium, her eyes completely filled with gentle, absolute infatuation. Rather than forcing her to marry someone fading away like me, it is better to leave things be and let her stay with the guy she actually likes. I refuse to drag her down. In my past life, after she went missing, I spent years searching, only to find out Hovi had taken her into his home. The two of them were completely in love. I completely ignored her wishes back then, forcing a specialist to wake her memories up. The exact day she remembered everything, Hovi took a tragic fall, ending it all. From that moment on, a massive, uncrossable rift was torn right between me and Kothan Mat. We had 10 whole years of a freezing cold marriage, right up until I came down with that muscle-wasting illness. For years, she stayed right by my side, feeding me, cleaning me, and dragging me everywhere to find some miracle cure. But I always knew deep down, she only did all that out of pure duty as a wife, never out of real love. Her mother holds back tears while I choke up. Than Mat and I just do not have a future. I refuse to make the exact same mistakes this time, leaving her family home, straight to find Hovi. He spots me coming and frantically pushes Kothan Mat away. He rushes to explain himself, swearing he didn't hide her on purpose. I just keep my voice completely flat. Did you or didn't you? You know the truth perfectly well. Realizing he can't hide it anymore, Hovi bites his lip and just goes all in, getting completely worked up. Lizuyen, he says, I know that deep down her heart has always belonged to you. The second she gets those memories back, she will absolutely drop me to find you. But I have been crazy about her since the very first time I saw her in high school. I loved her for so many years without ever getting even a fraction of her attention. It took a miracle just to get this one chance. I just want her to stay by my side for a few more days. Just a few days. By the end, his voice is barely holding back a choked sob. I listen quietly, but my gaze cuts right past him, landing directly on Kothan Mat, standing just behind him. That woman is staring unblinking right at me, her eyes incredibly dark and heavy. Her whole body is tense, looking like a violent storm is brewing right behind her eyes, ready to explode. The girl who used to be attached to my hip is now aggressively guarding someone else like a loyal hound. She looks absolutely ready to leap and tear me apart if I show even a hint of hostility toward Hovi. I honestly can't even describe how that feels, but living this life again, I know I can't selfishly tie her to my side anymore. I just give a faint smile. Now check out this reaction. I tell Hovi not to panic. I am not here to tear them apart. I just came to bring them both back to the Ko family. He looks absolutely stunned, asking if I really mean both of them. I nod. I tell him he is her lover now, and if we leave him behind, there is no way she will agree to come with us either. Go pack your things and head back to her family with her. My voice is completely calm, without a single ripple of emotion. Her parents already know everything, and they aren't going to oppose your relationship with her at all. Hit by an absolutely massive wave of joy, Hov grabs Koth and Matt's hand, flashing her a huge smile before spinning around to rush off and pack. That is the exact moment she finally realizes I have zero bad intentions toward him. She bites her lip, her stance softening just a little bit. She mutters an apology, saying she really thought I wanted to hurt him. All her feelings, her highs and lows, they completely follow HV now. Nobody remembers clearly anymore. Back when HV wouldn't stop bothering her, she used to bury herself in my arms, totally acting all wronged, and urge me to play the main guy to publicly claim her. You gotta tell everyone you belong only to me, and make sure your tone sounds just a little bit fierce. She'd even wink, pulling a fierce little face for me to copy. Then, we'd always burst out laughing, just rolling around the sofa making an absolute mess together. Such a real shame. Sethan Mount doesn't belong to me anymore. I just smirked, bringing the two of them right back to the sea estate. When it was time to introduce who I was, everyone just hesitated, not knowing what to say. Just stepped up and spoke first. I'm her childhood friend who grew up right beside her. I've always cared for her like a younger sister, and she even promised to set me up with someone. But once she lost her memory, that whole plan just got dragged out until now. Hearing this, everyone in the room who actually knew the truth had pretty complicated expressions. But Sethan Mount didn't suspect a single thing, even opening her mouth to joke. Alright, once everything completely settles down, this younger sister will get right back to setting up a girlfriend for you. In the middle of the night, a bright firelight suddenly jolted me awake. I pushed the door open, immediately seeing all those items related to me and Sethan Mount burning brightly in the flames. Our photos from childhood all the way to adulthood, holding our competition certificates together. Even that cloth doll she gave me during her confession, every single piece was turning to ash. Amid the crackling sounds, my chest suddenly felt this sharp ache, like something was squeezing it tight. Right then, Sethan Mount turned to look at me. Before, we didn't have our own partners, so being close didn't really feel out of line. But now HV lives with me, and seeing all this stuff makes him unhappy, so I just went ahead and burned it all. Don't take it to heart. I clenched my fists tight, absolutely refusing to let Sethan Mount see my struggle. No, it's completely fine. My reply was soft. Might as well just bring the things from my room and burn them together too. I went back inside, gathered all those old items tied to Sethan Mount, and tossed them right into the flames. The fire's intense heat rushed over me, but somehow my whole body felt like it was soaking in bone-chilling ice water. Over the next few days, deafening demolition sounds constantly rang out across the courtyard. Every single gardenia bush Sethan Mount personally planted for me got totally uprooted, swapped out for those exact roses HV liked the most. The glass greenhouse where we used to play piano and watch sunsets got smashed up, fully renovated into a swimming pool so HV could exercise comfortably. Even the wisteria trellis from when we confessed our feelings got torn down, completely dug out to make a lotus pond that HV loved, planting fresh seeds. Now watch this move. That exact day, HV suddenly blocked my path in the yard, chin tilted right up at me. He purposely showed off the ring on his finger. Sethan Mount found this ring's design in the room, saying she knew instantly it was meant for her future husband, so she stayed awake for several nights, making it herself just to propose to me. Do you think this ring looks pretty? Flying birds and a fish. This specific pattern was actually the design I used to love the most. I just nodded, my tone completely sincere. It's very beautiful, it fits your hand perfectly. But HV's face immediately darkened into a scowl. But I don't like who this original design was prepared for. You and I both know perfectly well. He just stared at me, his eyes looking incredibly sharp. You keep saying you don't have any intentions toward Sethan Mount, but all those past feelings she had for you, they're basically a ticking time bomb. I'm really not comfortable. So what do you actually want? I asked. I want. His words weren't even finished before HV suddenly threw his weight sideways, plunging straight into that newly dug lotus pond. Muddy water splashed everywhere and a heavy force shoved me aside, making me stumble and crash hard onto the ground. Just imagine the sting. Bone-piercing pain shot through my ankle, my palm scraping against gravel. A violently painful, burning sensation spread all along my arm. And before I could even sit up, I saw Sethan Mount rushing completely frantically straight into that muddy water. By the time she finally dragged HV ashore, both of them were totally covered in stinking muddy water. looking incredibly miserable and worn out. But Than Mount didn't even care about herself, frantically wiping the dirty mud off HV's face, her voice completely overflowing with sheer panic and heavy worry. HV, how are you doing? Did you choke on the water? Do your eyes hurt? Did you get scraped up anywhere? HV just stared blankly for a long while before shaking his head, pouting at Than Mount while tears kept falling uncontrollably. I'm completely fine. It's just that the ring you gave me got thrown in the water. I only fell because I tried picking it up. Saying that, he spread his hand open. The ring was completely nowhere to be seen. Than Mount, the C family doesn't welcome me at all. Look, my eyes are all red. Can we just go back to the rented house? At least back there, absolutely nobody is gonna bully me. That pathetic, pitiful look instantly crushed Than Mount's heart. Her gaze suddenly shifted entirely, becoming totally bone-chilling and cold. Who exactly threw your ring away? Who bullied you? HV just pursed his lips and said nothing, only sneaking a quiet little glance over at me. The pure fear and grievance in his eyes clearly gave the answer away. I just held onto my badly swollen ankle, opening my mouth in total disbelief. It really wasn't me. Than Mount just coldly swept her gaze over me, a stare like sharp ice needles piercing right through, making my entire body turn completely freezing cold. I have absolutely no reason to snatch that ring, I explained with a hoarse voice. You know the truth yourself. Than Mount drops that harsh line and helps HV up, shooting a sharp look at the bodyguard. Whoever threw that ring in the water has to go down there and get it back themselves. The bodyguard instantly gets the message. He steps right up, grabs me by the collar, and tosses me straight into the freezing winter pond. The second I hit the water, I am shivering uncontrollably. I desperately try crawling back onto the shore, but a heavy hand ruthlessly shoves my shoulder right back under. Mr. L, if you do not find that ring, we cannot let you come back up at all. The bodyguard's voice holds zero warmth. Find it fast if you want to suffer less. Biting my lip, I just accept it. I plunge down and drift in the murky pond, my freezing fingertips blindly searching through the icy mud over and over again. Filthy water floods right into my sleeves, freezing and numbing my fingertips until I practically lose all sensation. From the crack of dawn until the sky goes pitch black, right around the time her parents are due to return, my hands finally brush against that missing ring. Clenching the ring tight, I drag my freezing body step by step to Than Mount's room and knock. The door swings open, and Than Mount just stares at me with a completely silent look. I will let it go this time, but stay far away from HV from now on. The moment those words drop, she flips her palm, casually tossing that very same ring out into the hallway, letting it vanish right into the thick night outside the window. HV really does not like this style anyway, so I am designing a new one for him. I just watched the ring, the one I practically froze myself to get back, disappear completely into the darkness, a bitter smile tugging at my lips. It makes sense. She sees our past as a heavy burden now, so obviously she would never accept a ring that carries all those broken memories. Even though her parents always had this huge knot in their hearts when it came to HV, they simply could not hold out against Than Mount's constant stubborn persistence. In the end, they bite their tongues and start carefully preparing for the grand engagement party. This engagement party turns out to be absolutely massive and incredibly luxurious for everyone. The guests keep glancing over in my direction, whispering to each other. Lzuan looks so pathetic, searching so hard for his love, only to watch her marry a completely different guy in the end. Those two were childhood sweethearts, a perfect match in social standing. We all thought they would end up together. Who knew this crazy twist would happen instead? If I were Lzuan, I would definitely march up and slap that absolutely awful couple right across the face. How could he possibly have the mood to even attend this party today? Now pay attention here. HV, rocking a high-end luxury suit, slowly struts his way toward the center of the banquet hall. Than Mount holds his hand, that gentle light in her eyes looking like it might overflow entirely. She clears her throat slightly, her voice dropping its usual coldness, revealing a very serious tone instead. Please allow me to solemnly introduce him to everyone here. But before she can even finish that sentence, the banquet hall lights suddenly flicker twice in a row, and right after that, they completely shut off into pitch black. In the darkness, the loud crashing of tables and chairs fully mixes with people's piercing screams, and the entire scene instantly turns into a wildly chaotic, panicked mess. I instinctively back away 2 steps toward the dark corner of the room, but someone suddenly grips my wrist extremely tight. A heavy handkerchief carrying a brutally strong, stinging scent is instantly clamped right over my nose and mouth. The world immediately starts spinning out of control. I thrash around with everything I have. In that final moment, right before my consciousness fully fades away. The only thing left in my ears are those deafening, ear-piercing screams. No idea how much time passes, but through the haze, HV's deliberately lowered, furious roar breaks through. Damn it. Who gave you permission to make a move at my engagement party? I only told you guys to kidnap me and pin the blame on El Zuyen. Who asked you to drag him all the way here too? Even if you manage to make this look completely real, do not even dream about getting your final payment after pulling this kind of stunt. You idiots completely ruined my entire master plan. My consciousness slowly returns to me, and in a single flash, I managed to string every single piece of this crazy puzzle together perfectly. Another one of HV's setups, only this time, things really do not seem to be going the way he actually planned out. While struggling earlier, I actually brushed against the grip of a gun on their waist. See where this is going. This group is definitely not just some cheap street thugs HV hired. What makes my heart sink even further is that the kidnapper boss's voice actually sounds very familiar to me. It seems to be that bitter rival Ethan Mount ruthlessly pushed into a desperate corner during a fierce corporate business war not too long ago. A long while later, the kidnappers finally connect a video call straight to that C family woman. One is her old childhood sweetheart, the other is her chosen lover. After losing her memory, who is she actually going to save here? Ethan Mount stays calm on the screen, but the second her eyes catch that red mark on HV's face, she instantly loses all her usual cool composure. If you dare touch a single hair on HV's head, I will make absolutely sure every single one of you suffers the worst consequences. I shut my eyes, my vision suddenly burning as uncontrollable tears quietly slide down the corners of my eyes. Honestly, there was never anything to hope for in the first place. I really should have seen Ethan Mount's choice coming way earlier. The kidnapper suddenly bursts into loud laughter. Haha, did you seriously think I would give you a choice? As soon as he speaks, I am brutally dragged away and shoved straight into a large glass box. My side presses tightly against another warm body. The glass box holding us is violently hurled into the ocean, sending massive splashes of water shooting into the air. Weighted down by heavy stones, the bottom sinks rapidly. I quickly pull out my key, grip the handle tight, and smash it against the glass with all my might. The raging current sweeps up shattered glass, fiercely tearing into his limbs. He grits his teeth, dragging an unconscious HOV out of the glass tank, and swims upwards with everything he has. He barely manages to break the surface. Almost completely exhausted, our guy refuses to stop, quickly pushing HOV onto a piece of floating driftwood. His fingertips just lightly brush against the guy for a second. You have to live well, he tells him silently. Only if you survive will her lifelong obsession finally find some real peace. While he pushes the driftwood toward the shore, his horrible muscle-wasting illness suddenly flares up out of nowhere. Instantly, his entire arm loses all feeling. Completely helpless, he slowly sinks into the deep ocean. Watching the shimmering light dancing on the surface above, he quietly closes his eyes. Maybe this is just how it ends. But right before his consciousness completely fades away in his hazy state, he sees someone reaching out toward him with everything they have. Was that just a hallucination? When he opens his eyes again, the very first thing he sees is the cold white ceiling of a hospital room. A nurse excitedly leans in, telling him it is amazing that he finally woke up. He has been totally unconscious for 2 whole days. If he had not woken up, the hospital would have cut off his antibiotics. Since his identity is completely unknown, stopping meds with a lung infection means a major relapse. He hoarsely asks if anyone came to visit him while he was out. The nurse says no one did. The nurse lets out a heavy sigh, calling his situation truly pitiful. The other guy brought in with him only choked on some water, yet his girlfriend immediately went and booked a premium VIP room for him. She stayed right by his side without leaving for a second. He feels pretty shocked at first, but then just relaxes into a smile. Right then, a light knock hits the door, and a very familiar voice rings out. Someone calls out for La Zuyen. He snaps his head up, and the moment he sees that elegant figure, his tears instantly break loose. Unable to reach him at all, she came looking for him all by herself. The woman walks to the bed, pulling him into a tight embrace while gently stroking his hair. She tells her little puppy it is time to go home. The two of them board a helicopter, and the private aircraft pierces right through the clouds, flying decisively toward a completely unfamiliar country. He wipes away his final tear, staring at the horizon outside the window, silently saying his last goodbye to Ko Than Mat in his heart. Ko Than Mat, he thinks. I am stepping back to let you and HOV be happy. From now on, we will never meet again. Now watch how crazy this gets. Rumors are spreading all over the hospital that CEO Ko invited world-class psychiatric and neurological experts for one reason, just to check if HOV had any lingering trauma from falling into the water. After finishing his diagnosis, HOV happily mentions that he wants to prepare some freshly sliced pear for Ko Than Mat to eat. Ko Than Mat replies, with a voice full of gentle coaxing, telling him that eating sliced pear is really not a good idea. HOV, I never want to part with you. The word pear sounds just like separation. The moment she says that, a completely unrelated memory suddenly flashes into Ko Than Mat's mind. It was a beautiful sunny day, with a gentle breeze ringing the wind chimes by the window, and, carrying the sweet scent of wisteria, a young boy bites into a pear, happily chewing it, and then casually pops the other half of his bitten slice right into her mouth. By the time the past version of her actually realizes exactly what she just ate, her heart shatters just a little bit. Sharing a pear means separation. Do you really want to be separated from me? The young boy is so shocked by her dramatic reaction that his eyes widen in panic, but his face is covered in a thick layer of fog, making it completely impossible for her to see his features clearly. Ko Than Mat, are you really that terrified of being separated from me? Of course I am, and I will never, ever give you the chance to leave my side. Ko Than Mat instinctively presses a hand tight against her chest, her heart suddenly pounding wildly just from the sheer force of this hidden memory. Her past self cherished that young boy with something close to an absolute obsession. It felt like if she ever let go of his hand, the rest of her life would be drenched by a never-ending, bone-chilling rainstorm. A slight panic stirs in Ko Than Mat's heart. Who could this person possibly be? Is it Le Zuyen? A familiar sense of heavy sorrow surges up inside her, far stronger than ever before. It feels exactly like something incredibly important is slowly slipping away from her, bit by bit. She remembers the sudden kidnapping at the engagement party, that exact moment when Le Zuyen and HOV were violently thrown into the ocean. You have to feel this tension. Her heart felt completely crushed, and without even having a single second to think, she just dived right into the water. She saw Le Zuyen dragging HOV up to the surface and pushing him onto the driftwood. Meanwhile, he sank straight down into the deep water, just like a kite with a completely snapped string. Logic told her she should save HOV first. He was her actual fiancé after all. Saving her own lover was perfectly natural. Le Zuyen had his subordinates nearby. Someone would definitely save him, so he wouldn't lose his life. But as her body got closer and closer to HOV, pure instinct dragged her hand toward that bottomless blue ocean instead. This is completely wrong, Ko Than Mat tells herself. Even if they were just childhood friends, even if her own co-family parents, even Le Zuyen himself had personally said from his own mouth that he always saw her as a sister, Le Zuyen really should not be this important to her. But if the person who suddenly popped up in that memory is truly Le Zuyen, then what kind of existence is he really meant to be in her life? Si Than Mount suddenly shoots up from her seat. The chair scrapes back with this loud, harsh screech. Meeting HV's suspicious stare, she bites her lip. She's going to check on Le Zuyen for a bit, but she barely takes 2 steps before someone gently tugs at her pant leg. Si Than Mount looks down, catching HV's red, teary eyes. He asks if she's going to Mr. L because she doesn't need him anymore. She doesn't really get this sudden victim act, but her voice softens. Don't be scared. She just needs to confirm a few things with him. HV is panicking on the inside. Did Si Than Mount actually start remembering something? If she really goes to find Le Zuyen right now, is there any chance she will keep treating him this kindly? He doesn't dare say that out loud. He just frowns, his voice trembling, as he complains about a massive headache. Si Than Mount sees right through his little fake act almost instantly, yet she still follows his lead, letting him pull her straight into his arms, gently patting his back while she hits the call button for the doctor. This exact little theatrical performance has happened several times already. Whenever she shows the slightest intention of finding Le Zuyen, HV always uses this fake illness trick to distract her completely. Now, this is where things start getting suspicious. As it happens more often, Si Than Mount slowly realizes HV is genuinely terrified of Le Zuyen. But if Le Zuyen is just her childhood friend, why would HV freak out this much? Her chaotic thoughts tangle up into a massive knot. She even gets this totally absurd idea, but quickly suffocates it herself before it grows. If she really used to love Le Zuyen in the past, how could she possibly allow herself to stay with HV right now? She quietly brushes a stray strand of hair off HV's forehead. Looking at his constantly twitching eyelids, she knows deep down he isn't sleeping at all. Obviously, she has already decided HV is the one true love of her entire life. So what if she finds Le Zuyen to clarify their relationship? it would only end up breaking HV's heart, and that is just not worth it. Then Mount makes her firm decision. She will never bring up finding El Zui N again. She keeps treating HV with the same meticulous care as before, but the calmer her logic gets, the easier her thoughts spiral completely out of control. If El Zui N truly was her lover in the past, then what does her love for HV even mean to El Zui N? While she spaces out yet again, HV bites his lip, digging his nails deep into his palms. He purposely complains. She isn't listening to him again. Does she not love him anymore? Then Mount snaps back quickly, biting her lip to apologize. He immediately tests her, asking if she even remembers what he was just saying. She honestly shakes her head. No. HV sounds totally helpless, saying he keeps having nightmares lately, suggesting they go stay at the Hoisen Mountain Temple for a while. He heard the peace amulets there are extremely effective, and getting one would finally stop his bad dreams. Then Mount stays quiet for a second before nodding in agreement. The two head straight to Hoisen Temple. There, she specifically requests a blessed prayer bead bracelet just for HV. According to temple rules, the worshipper has to personally hang the amulet containing the beads on the absolute highest peak of the cliff for it to truly work. She promises him she will come back safely, giving HV's shoulder a really comforting pat. Holding the peace amulet in her mouth, Then Mount double-checks her safety harness, grabbing the slippery rock wall barehanded as she climbs up. 10 meters off the ground, she can still hear HV's warnings. At 50 meters, the howling wind completely swallows every single sound. 100 meters up, and right here, watch closely, her shattered memories suddenly explode. Miss C used to always prepare these exact things for Mr. L, filling the entire courtyard with wisteria flowers, releasing thousands of glowing lanterns, leaving as servants completely exhausted, just cleaning it all up. That was just idle gossip from the old C family servants. Back then, it went in one ear and out the other, but right now, every word echoes crystal clear as she finally reaches the cliff's peak. Letting out a massive breath, she carefully ties the peace amulet to a fake pine tree on the cliff edge, turning around to head back down. Suddenly, sharp snap echoes directly from her safety harness. In a split second, that terrifying feeling of weightlessness completely grips her. Then Mount doesn't even have time to scream. Her whole body plummets straight down like a kite with a snap string. The deep, dark blue of the lake swallows her instantly. That suffocating feeling completely wraps around her in a heartbeat. Through the chaotic water, the faint reflection of flower lanterns flashes right across her eyes. The memory gates violently blast open into a hazy night. A sky full of glowing sky lanterns reflects perfectly in the young boy's terror-filled eyes. Thousands upon thousands of flower lanterns stretch across the water, looking just like a flowing galaxy. He always said he couldn't see the moon for his early month birthday. The young boy's voice carries a really heavy, choked-up sob. He tells her it's okay if there's no moon anymore. He'll just release a whole galaxy for her. She reaches out to wipe his tears, and that burning warmth on her fingertips absolutely scorches her heart. Underwater, Then Mount thrashes around desperately, not to catch a breath, but trying to tear away that thick mental fog. As that face gets clearer, her head feels like countless needles are stabbing it all at once. The pain makes her curl into a ball, but she refuses to let go of that gentle light. For a long, long time, before her consciousness fades completely, she finally sees it. Those eyes, full of tears and laughter, belong to Ella Zui N. She weakly mutters. The exact second the freezing dark water swallows her whole, all those dust-covered memories finally break the dam violently, flooding straight into her brain. Going overseas, during these recent days, from struggling to adapt to this new place at first, to finally settling down, it honestly feels like a whole century has passed. Through it all, Liu Ruyan has taken amazing care of me. She's been right by my side, dragging me to every hospital under the sun for treatments. My meals are prepped exactly to the doctor's orders, measured down to the very last gram. Even that hot bamboo shoot and pork noodle soup I just casually mentioned missing from back home. She literally scoured the entire Chinatown just to track down dried bamboo shoots and cured meat. You see, Liu Ruyan's cooking skills were forged through years of hard practice. Years ago, right after my parents died in that car crash, I locked myself in my room, crying and refusing to eat a single bite. It was her, barely an adult herself, who clumsily tied on an apron and learned to cook my favorite dishes step by step from a recipe book. Back then, clung to the bowl my mom left behind like my life depended on it, soaking my pillow with tears every single night. She quietly packed away my parents' belongings while shouldering the entire weight of the Zhang family. She shielded me, acting as both an older sister and a mother, using her own fragile body to hold up my entire crumbling world. That feeling of absolute safety whenever I'm around Liu Ruyan, it is carved deep into my very bones. Now, I rest my chin on my hand, looking out the window at the neighbor's kid building, chubby, goofy-looking snowmen with red scarves, and I can't help but laugh out loud. Ruyan, I want to play in the snow too. I stare wide-eyed at the thoughtful woman sitting right in front of me. Liu Ruyan has never once tried to restrict my freedom, but whenever I attempt to head out alone, that raw, unconcealed worry deep in her eyes always makes me feel incredibly guilty. So I quickly add my energy is pretty great today, so if you're not busy, could you come build a snowman with me? Liu Ruyan gently sets down the glass of milk in her hand, a soft, warm smile rippling through her eyes. She agrees, but as I eagerly dash for the door, she suddenly grabs my collar, pulling me right back. Put a scarf on first. Before she even finishes speaking, a thick wool scarf is already tightly wrapped around my neck, along with heavy winter gloves. Then come the fur-lined snow boots, fluffy earmuffs, and finally, a massive puffer jacket reaching past my knees. Only when I'm bundled up like a giant, round dumpling does she finally pat my head in satisfaction. Honestly, with a sister like you around, who even needs a girlfriend? I pause for a second, deliberately keeping my tone light. Taking such amazingly good care of me, even this exact, overwhelming sense of security is just like what I used to get from Gu Qingmo. Oh? She stares intently at me, her gaze incredibly deep, while a faint, mysterious smile plays at the corner of her lips. Maybe Gu Qingmo and I are not so different after all, she says. Then she just looks down to adjust my hat strings, acting like that heavily loaded comment was just casual chatter. But I just freeze right on the spot, feeling like something just slammed hard into my chest. Now watch closely, because this gets twisted. What exactly does Liu Ruyan mean? Like Gu Qingmo, like she might suddenly forget all about me one day, just like how my ex ended up hurting me for someone else's sake. No, I immediately crush that dark thought. Liu Ruyan is completely different from Gu Qingmo, and she would absolutely never do something like that. Still, her vague, half-finished sentence leaves me feeling pretty unsettled inside. She is always exactly like this, only speaking half her mind, unfairly forcing me to guess her true intentions over and over. I angrily stomp out into the yard, grab the snow shovel, and aggressively jam it into the white ground. It's like I'm treating the snow under my boots as Liu Ruyan's overly secretive face. Clang! The snow shovel abruptly slips right out of my grip, hitting the frozen earth with the heavy, dull thud. I try to bend down and pick it up, only to realize my arm is completely frozen in midair. It just won't move. Before I can even call out for help, I'm suddenly pulled into a warm, incredibly soft embrace. Leaning against Liu Ruyan, I can clearly hear her calm, powerful heartbeat, one steady beat after another, sounding exactly like a reassuring drum deep in my ear. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. The doctor strictly told us this terminal illness is completely incurable, and we can only rely on heavy medication and nursing care to somehow delay the inevitable progression. My muscles will lose their strength bit by bit, eventually becoming totally stiff and withered. In the end, it'll feel like being frozen solid in ice, where even taking a single breath becomes a luxury. Lying in bed, watching Liu Ruyan carefully tuck the blanket around me, I somehow still have the idle energy to joke around. It's all because it's too cold outside, I say, literally froze me. Liu Ruyan leans in close to my ear, her voice carrying a very faint, noticeable tremble. Yeah, once the weather warms up, you won't be frozen anymore. But this time, I'm one who stays completely silent. After a long pause, I finally speak up, my tone dead serious. Ruyan, in my current condition, I'm really not fit to be anyone's husband, let alone anyone's lover. I gently reject this heavy, deep affection that I simply cannot afford to carry. But Liu Ruyan just lifts her head, gently leaning in closer as her gaze pierces straight into mine. The swirling devotion hiding in her eyes is so overwhelmingly intense, it actually terrifies me. Turns out, I've been totally ignoring this for way too long. Yet her expression suddenly softens, and she speaks calmly, like she's discussing the most ordinary thing in the world. To me, she says, if you choose me as your sister, I will take care of you purely as family. If you choose me as your lover, I'll just be building on that family bond with the added love of a wife. That's all. There is honestly no difference. She pauses for a split second. It's just that I'm greedy, and I want to hold one more special title in your heart. Azuyen, please don't rush to say no. She looks right at him, her eyes hiding this incredibly careful, fragile plea. You have to at least let me try, just to see if I can actually pull this off. Kothan Mat falls straight off a cliff. They rush her to the hospital, and somehow, against all odds, she actually survives. But the doctors find it pretty weird. Her vitals clearly show she is totally out of the woods. Her brain activity is completely off the charts, way too active for someone in a coma. And yet, she just lies there, showing zero signs of waking up anytime soon. Her parents get the news and immediately rush over in a total panic. Seeing their daughter lying completely motionless on that hospital bed, they turn their anger straight toward HOV guarding nearby. They just lose it, yelling at him. "I told you early on you were nothing but a walking disaster. You completely manipulated our Thanmat, confusing her so much that she totally lost her way. If we hadn't listened to Azuyen and stopped looking for a doctor to fix her memory, and especially if we never brought you home, this never would have happened." They slump down into their chairs, their voices dripping with heavy regret. Back when she was with Azuyen, absolutely nothing like this ever went wrong. If only we had just ignored Azuyen back then. That name Azuyen just keeps echoing endlessly inside Ko Thanmat's mind, bringing this deep, burning sense of familiarity. Out of nowhere, a tall, incredibly elegant figure flashes right into her recovering memory. The young man stands right in a blooming courtyard, smiling warmly at her. "Thanmat, the butterfly orchids in the greenhouse finally bloomed, so let's go see them together." Ko Thanmat watches herself eagerly step forward, but the exact second she touches him, he instantly shatters, turning into countless glowing butterflies that just drift away into the wind. His gentle, incredibly heartbreaking sigh echoes right through the empty air. "Thanmat, there is simply no future for us." Azuyen. Back in the hospital room, Ko Thanmat's eyes snap wide open, her sharp gasp completely shattering the heavy silence. "Thanmat, you are finally awake." Vi looks absolutely ecstatic at first, but then he bursts into quiet tears. "You actually woke up. If you stayed asleep forever, I honestly would not know what to do. Your parents would resent me forever, and the guilt would absolutely tear me apart. I never should have let you go hang those prayer beads for me. This is entirely my fault." Ko Thanmat just listens in total silence. She stares at the man she once treated like absolute treasure during her amnesia, and then hoarsely asks a single question. "Where is Azuyen?" Vi freezes completely. Then he bites his lip, refusing to drop the act, and immediately starts squeezing out fake crocodile tears right in front of her. "Why are you even bringing him up? You were stuck in this hospital for so long, and he never visited you once. That kind of guy only sticks around when you are doing great, but runs away when things get tough. Why even care? If you ask me, he is," but she cuts in. "He is not that kind of person." Ko Thanmat frowns sharply, completely shutting him down. Her eyes flash with absolute, unshakable certainty. She knows exactly what kind of person Azuyen is. Way better than anybody else does. He didn't come visit simply because he is incredibly angry with her. Just think about this. Remembering how badly she treated Azuyen during her amnesia feels like an iron grip crushing her chest, suffocating her until she can barely breathe. In pure panic, she rips the heavy blanket off, jumps straight out of bed, and marches right toward the door. Vi grabs her from behind, pulling her into a tight hug. Even an absolute fool could see the sharp clarity returning to her eyes. He knows her memories are finally back. It is always exactly like this. The second Azuyen enters the picture, her eyes simply have no room left for anyone else. He just refuses to accept it. Choking back fake tears, he lowers his pride completely and whispers, "I am so sorry. I totally misunderstood Mr. La. He probably had his own hidden, painful reasons for throwing away my engagement ring. And that wild kidnapping at the engagement party? That definitely wasn't his twisted scheme either. But right now, you are still recovering from serious injuries. Just wait until you fully heal, and then I will gladly go apologize to him with you, alright?" But come on, how could Ko Thanmat not instantly see right through this manipulative, fake apology guilt trip of his? She rejects him completely, no hesitation. One by one, she roughly pries his fingers off her arms. Her voice drops, cold as solid ice. "Azuyen never hired those kidnappers. If he actually wanted to hurt you, he never would have saved your life when both of you were tossed into the ocean. He pushed himself past his absolute limits just to save you, and that is exactly why he sank." She squeezes her eyes shut, her voice now dripping with heavy impatience. "And do not make me ask why I somehow ended up in your hands during my amnesia." Vi's carefully crafted expression shatters into a million pieces. "What did you just say?" Ko Thanmat gives him one final, piercing glare, violently shakes off his hand, and strides straight out the door. "If you run straight to him, then what the hell am I?" Vi screams at her back. She hears every desperate word, but Ko Thanmat does not even glance backward. Instead, this overwhelming, indescribable panic starts rising deep inside her chest. Before her memories came rushing back, she actually asked herself that exact same question. If Li Zuyan truly was her real lover, then what did that make her, after falling for Hov? In his eyes, what exactly has she become? A traitor. A completely unforgivable traitor who threw everything away. You can literally feel her dread right now. She is absolutely terrified of facing Li Zuyan's unforgiving stare. This is the man who cherished her above all else. The one she swore she would marry. Back then, even a single frown from him would break her heart. But now, she is the one who personally tore him apart. Outside the Ko estate, Ko Than Mat drops to her knees before her parents. She begs them to just tell her exactly where Zuyan is. She promises to make things right with him, but they cut her off. Her parents simply cannot take it anymore, grabbing her arms with the hidden, profound sadness in their eyes that she just does not understand at all. They tell her straight up, Zuyan canceled the engagement the exact moment she lost her memory, and no matter how much she begs, he is never coming back. Their voices drop low, carrying endless exhaustion. They explain he just refused to be a burden to her. That is exactly why he urged them to give up on helping her remember, and chose to leave the country all on his own. A burden, Ko Than Mat repeats purely on instinct, shrinking back as if physically burned. Mrs. Ko closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and finally reveals the truth. Zuyan forbade them from speaking, but she really needs to deeply understand his inner pain. When they had first found her, he had just recently been diagnosed with a severe muscle-wasting illness. He brought that medical report right over and immediately asked to cancel everything. He said right now, she only had Hov in her heart. So while she could not remember him, he chose to walk away and let them be happy together. Not letting her future be dragged down by his condition was simply his best choice. Boom. It feels like lightning just strikes her mind. Ko Than Mat stands totally frozen, eyes entirely empty, processing those exact words. A severe illness, stepping aside. These exact words pierce right through her like sharp, freezing needles, making her fragile heart ache intensely. The bitter, suffocating scent of burnt ash seems to flood right into her veins, soaking into every single limb. Her heart is practically ripped into two halves, hurting so incredibly badly that she almost curls up into a ball. How could this possibly be real? Li Zuyan had clearly promised to stay by her side for an entire lifetime. With the whole world spinning rapidly, her vision goes totally dark, and she falls right down from the villa steps. In that final fading moment, right before her consciousness fully slips away, she looks toward the shallow, clear lotus pond out in the yard, blankly feeling like that exact spot really should have been filled entirely with gardenias instead. I finally cross paths with Ko Than Mat again on the exact day I visit the hospital for my meds. She looks so much thinner, with faint, gloomy dark circles around her eyes, clearly not having slept in ages. Why is she all the way in London? I glance just behind her, asking if she is basically here escorting her dear lover, Hov, for a medical checkup. Ko Than Mat's pupils suddenly expand, reacting like she just heard something incredibly painful. She desperately calls out to me, saying she only came all this way to apologize. I quietly look at her expression, catching that deeply familiar way she says my name. I pause for a brief moment before finally realizing she has fully recovered her memories. But I genuinely do not understand why she needs to come apologize. Logically speaking, she really should be living a supposedly happy and peaceful life right now. Alongside Hov, I just stay silent for a second and shake my head, telling her no apology is needed. Since I know Hov means a lot to her, my tone is totally calm, because back when I first decided to step aside for them, I never even once considered holding any sort of grudge. Ko Than Mat opens her mouth in total despair, instinctively reaching out, wanting to grab me tightly by the wrist. She desperately asks me if I am just speaking out of anger. She demands to know if I hate her for choosing Hov during her amnesia. Am I furious? She falsely accused and hurt me for him, intentionally saying these exact things just to provoke her and watch her suffer? At this very moment, all the apologies she prepared are entirely tossed aside, leaving absolutely nothing behind but an overwhelming wave of pure, absolute panic. But before her hand even touches my shirt, a strong force from behind roughly shoves it away. Someone harshly asks how Ko Than Mat dares to show her face here. Lu Nu Yen's voice suddenly rings out, carrying this bone-chilling coldness, her intense gaze looking as sharp as freezing ice. I catch that dangerous flash deep within her eyes, so I quickly grab her fingertips, gently tilting my head to coax her in a half-joking way. I ask if the car is already pulled out, saying we should just go, before softly leading Lu Nu Yen away from there. Looking back, my tone toward Ko Than Mat carries a bit of pure helplessness. I tell her I am truly not mad, and I really do not need her apology. Her living well with Hov is honestly the greatest payback she could give me. I sincerely mean that from the bottom of my heart. But here is a wild twist. In my past life, after marriage and my severe diagnosis, Ko Than Mat was the one constantly caring for me. Even if she initially did it mostly out of obligation, she genuinely stayed by my side for a whole lifetime. All the different choices I have made in this current life are simply my way of repaying that profound bond. Since I chose to step away, there is absolutely no resentment left in me. I am quite satisfied with my current life, and prefer not being bothered anymore. On the beautiful day of my wedding with Lu Nu Yen, we happily received gifts from Mr. and Mrs. Ko, along with other close friends. There is also a massive, anonymous fortune that is quite obviously sent from Ko Than Mat. It includes all of her personal shares in the Ko group. And tucked right alongside that official stock contract sits a lovely pair of wooden dolls resting gently on a wisteria flower swing. Though, a very jealous Lu Nu Yen ends up tossing them far away, and honestly, I do not mind at all. Guided by the priest, I feel remarkably calm and entirely at peace. Looking straight into Lu Nu Yen's stunning eyes, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, I solemnly accept her to be my wonderful wife. From this very day forward, through good times or bad, in sickness or health, I will truly love and cherish her until our final breath parts us forever. The exact moment those vows drop, the eyes of someone standing right in the audience go entirely, utterly dark. In Si Than Mount's side story, during those countless days silently watching and protecting Zui En, she asks herself more than once, should she just kidnap him and force him to stay by her side? He would probably hate her, despise her, but at least he would finally belong to her, especially when she sees Zui En smiling so brightly at Liu Nhyn. That dark, possessive desire deep inside her just completely erupts into a violent, raging storm. But then she remembers exactly how helpless Zui En looks whenever his illness acts up. Her hands just shake, and she puts down the phone with that unsent message. She understands this better than anyone else alive. Zui En absolutely hates when people see him struggling during his worst episodes. Yet he never pushes Liu Nhyn away at those times. He actually relies on her, burying himself right into her arms. When he stays beside Liu Nhyn, the light in his eyes and the smile on his lips are completely relaxed and free. Not a single trace of darkness. She just cannot strip that true joy away from him. Si Than Mount still clearly remembers the exact moment she first fell for Zui En. She only wanted this young man to keep that sweet smile forever. That was all. Right now, Zui En does not love her anymore. She cannot give him the joy he wants, so she should at least stop ruining his current happiness. Let it just be. She tells herself that countless times. She will stand guard until he gets married. Watch him step into his own perfect ending with her own eyes, and then gracefully walk away. But when this actual wedding day finally arrives, Si Than Mount truly understands exactly what soul-tearing, bitter regret really feels like. Zui En was supposed to be her husband. If only she never lost her memory. If she had just fought her way away from HV, Zui En might have waited for her a little longer. Thinking it over, the one she should really blame is herself. She tightly grips the wooden dolls that Liu Nhyn threw away, then runs out of the wedding hall just like a total coward. After returning to the country, she avoids the Si family home entirely. Instead, she goes straight up to the mountain temple where she once fell off the cliff. Si Than Mount turns toward the abbot and bows deeply. Pay attention to what happens next. She asks him, if I spend my remaining years praying, can I earn a chance in the next life? The abbot just looks at her with total pity, his voice perfectly calm. Benefactor, the cause is the result, and the result is the cause. You pray for the next life, but how do you know this life isn't what you begged for in the last? Si Than Mount doesn't understand those heavy words at first, until one extremely ordinary night. She scrolls past a new video of a puppy that Zui En posted on his social media. Her eyes are still lingering on his bright smile, when a heavy wave of absolute exhaustion suddenly washes over her. In that daze, she feels like a bystander watching a completely different life play out. In that past life, her parents forcibly dragged her back to the Si family. She recovered her memories much earlier, smoothly, getting married to Zui En. Shortly after the wedding, Zui En was diagnosed with a severe muscle-wasting disease. But he never felt it was a burden like in reality. Instead, he smiled and said he wanted to face it together with her. She hears herself telling him, our love is strong enough, No hardship will beat us. Even if massive mountains and wild seas block the way, I will cross them all with you. The words sound deeply passionate and profound, but only Sethan Mount, watching as a silent bystander, knows the real truth. While saying those words, her heart was already a dead, stagnant pool. HV was dead. Treating Elzui and well was nothing more than her carrying out a basic obligation. Now, really think about this moment. She carried Elzui in, bowing with every single step, climbing to every mountain temple with stone monuments. She held his hand, repeatedly, tracing the life and death inscriptions on those steels, desperately praying for his peace and longevity. But nobody knew. Every time she finished climbing a mountain, she would hide in a quiet corner and copy a rebirth mantra just for HV, hoping he would never die for her again in the next life, hoping those two could finally have a completely different ending. After Elzui N passed away, she completely burned every single rebirth mantra she ever copied for HV. Within those towering, bright flames, an ethereal yet commanding voice echoed out loud. Your wish is granted. The scene suddenly shifts. It shows Elzui N after his rebirth, calmly ordering his men to drop the proposal of finding a doctor to awaken her lost memories. Sethan Mount suddenly gasps, jolting completely awake from the dream. The endless night wraps around her, her limbs totally numb, feeling like ants gnawing at rotting flesh. That deep trembling in her soul refuses to fade. Her heart pounds violently in her chest, every single beat echoing like deafening thunder. She slowly presses a hand to her chest. It already hurts so much it feels completely numb. Sethan Mount tries curling her lips into a smile, but it quickly freezes on her face. Her eyes slowly turn completely red. It turns out, she brought all of this upon herself with her own prayers. She was completely blind and foolish, failing to see her own true feelings or break through the maze of love. This bitter ending is entirely her own fault. Early the next morning, Sethan Mount finds the abbot at the mountain temple again. She calmly asks him, I want to become a nun. Can I choose my own dharma name? He says yes. Then call me El San, she replies. El from Elzui N, and San from the rebirth mantra. For the rest of her life, she will stay by the ancient Buddha and the green lamp, chanting the rebirth mantra forever, just praying he never gets sick in the next life. A safe and peaceful life, finding a good partner, and endless lifelong happiness.